Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rifki Ramadan from Group 7, and today I will be explaining a bit about our project, which is a setting up a cloud computing environment using Apache Cloud Stack. So first of all, Apache Cloud Stack is a robust open IaaS or infrastructure as a service where it empowers organization to build, manage, deploy a public, private, or even hybrid cloud environment. So this is the backbone of this cloud computing environment. The reason we use Apache is because it has the capability to provide a comprehensive solution for creating a scalable and highly available cloud infrastructure. It also abstracts the complexities of underlying hardware and virtualization technologies because at its core, CloudStack automates the provisioning and management of compute and networking and storage resources, and it enables user to deliver an on-demand self-service cloud services. This is all possible due to the wide range of key features that CloudStack provides. First is the high availability, where CloudStack was engineered and is engineered for resilience with features like automated failover for management servers and support for highly available virtual machine clusters. It also is designed platform is designed to manage a lot of database like thousands of physical servers across multiple data centers. It has a multi-tenancy where CloudStack provides a robust tenant isolation and management, allowing service providers and enterprises to securely partition data or resources for different consumers and departments. UI wise, it has a very user friendly UI. A web-based UI simplifies the management and provisioning of cloud resources for both administrators or even end users. It also has a very own API, but also is compatible with the Amazon EC2 and S3 APIs, enabling users to leverage existing tools and workflow and for advanced capabilities. It has NaaS or Network as a Service, where it offers a rich set of networking capabilities, including software defined networking or SDN, virtual private cloud, load balancing, firewalls, and even VPN gateways. It has storage management, where CloudStack supports a variety of storage solutions, including both primary storage for running virtual machines and a secondary storage for template, ISOs, and snapshots. It has the capability to integrate with traditional storage arrays as well as modern software defined storage or SDS solutions. It has hypervisor agnosticism, one of CloudStack's key strengths. It has the capability to support a wide range of hypervisors, including KVM, VMware, vSphere, Citrix Hypervisor, and XCP-ng. This flexibility allows organizations to leverage their existing virtualization infrastructure and avoid vendor lock-in. The last is resource accounting, where the platform includes detailed usage, metering, and reporting, enabling chargeback and showback models for resource consumption.
Architectural overview. CloudStack architecture is designed for scalability and manageability. It follows a hierarchical structure that organizes resources in a logical and efficient manner. The main components of the CloudStack architecture are management server. It acts as the central controller of the cloud. It handles user login, virtual machines management, and system tasks. Runs on a dedicated machine with a MySQL database. Can be set up in a high availability mode with multiple servers. Cloud infrastructure. This represents the physical and virtual resource that CloudStack manages. It is organized in the following hierarchy. Zone represents a data center. Contains all the resources such as pod storage. Pod, a group of clusters like a rack or set of racks. Include hypervisor, host, and primary storage. Cluster, a group of similar hypervisor with the same type of version, providing computer power for virtual machines. Host, a physical server that runs the hypervisor and virtual machine. Primary storage, store VM disk volumes linked to a cluster. Then a secondary storage, stores template, ISO files, and backup share across the entire zone. These hierarchical designs allow for the logical grouping of resources, simplifying management, and enabling granular control over the cloud environment. Benefit and use case. 1. Open source, that means it's lower cost. It has no license fee, reducing the total cost of ownership. 2. Customizable and flexible. Modify or integrate code stack to fit your specific needs. 3. No vendors lock-in. Works with different hypervisors such as KVM, VMware, giving you the freedom of choice. 4. Strong community support. It has global user base, documentation, forum, and events.
So, before we proceeding to installing CloudStack, it's crucial to ensure the server meets the necessary hardware and software requirements and properly configured. And getting these preliminary steps will prevent common installation headaches and provide a stable foundation for our cloud environment. So first of all, the hardware requirements. The CPU must support hardware virtualization. Like for Intel CPUs, this is Intel VTX, and for AMD CPU, this is MDV. So the action, you must enable virtualization technology in your server BIOS or UEFI settings, and the settings is often found under CPU configurations or advanced tab. And minimum RAM is 8 GB and recommended for a single node test environment, and this provides enough memory for the host operating system, the CloudStack management server, the KVM hypervisor, and a few small virtual machines. For better performance, you need 16 GB or more. It's highly recommended. And storage, you need at least 100 GB of disk space, and this will host the OS and CloudStack components and storage for templates, ISOs, and virtual machines disk. For disk type, using an NSD or solid state driver is highly recommended for both primary and secondary storage, and as it will dramatically boost the performance of VM provisioning and generally I/O operations. A stable network connections with a static IP address available for the server. This setup will use one network interface or NEC. And for the software requirements, the installation guide is done with Ubuntu Server 24.04 or Noble Numbed, and it's recommended to start with a fresh minimal installation of this OS to avoid a potential software conflicts. And the initial system configuration. So before installing any CloudStack components, we need to perform a few configuration steps. First of all, we need to update the systems to ensure all system packages are up to date, and this applies the latest security patches and software updates. And this is the code you basically use. So the sudo apt upgrade is for refreshes the local package index, and the update full upgrade is for upgraded all the installed package to the newest version. And we need to configure the firewall, and it's very critical to configure a firewall to secure your server before exposing the service. The following steps: use the uncomplicated firewall on Ubuntu. We need to allow the essential service like add rules to permit the traffic for SSH, and the CloudStack UI, the libvirt management port, and NFS. This is the code that you need to use. Alright, for the enable firewall, we need to activate the firewall to apply the rules. And verify status, we need to check that firewall is active and the rules have been added to the correctly. This is the code we use. Okay. And for the network configuration, so next we'll configure the server network to use a static IP address on a bridge interface, and which is we need to is a requirement for a CloudStack. So we'll edit the net plan configuring file. So there's the guide provides a WAML file with the following configuration that disable the HTTP and creates a network bridge named Cloud VR0. This bridge is essential for guest VMs to communicate with the network. So I will need to replace the ANP1S0 to our actual network interface. We can find it with IPA in command prompt and adjust the IP address and gateway and DNS servers to match your local network. And after editing the WAML file, apply the configurations here. Okay, and then after we do it, we reboot it and log back in after verify the new IP address using IP address and test internet connectively with ping 8888 here. Okay, and then next, as optional, for enable.sshf for logging. So for user management, in some scenarios you can enable direct SSH login for the root user. For set, this is a command to modify the sshd config file and then restart the service. Next, for the management server installations, now we'll install the CloudStack management server and database back and MySQL. So first of all, we need to add CloudStack repository, and we create a new repository file to our system. We can locate the CloudStack package with this command, and then we add the official CloudStack 4.20 repository for our Ubuntu Noble to this file, and then we add the GPG key. We download and add the CloudStack public to ensure package authenticity. Okay, and then we install management server and MySQL. We update the package cache and install the CloudStack management for the necessary packages with this command, and then we configure MySQL. We need to edit the MySQL configurations in file and add the specific settings under MySQLD section, such as this server ID, I know the rollback on timeout 1, and etc. So this is crucial for database replications and connection handling. And after saving the changes, restart MySQL status, and the status we need to check is like this command. And then we set up the CloudStack database. We run the database setup script, and this command initialize the CloudStack database schema. It's very important to specify the correct IP address of the management server here. So the cloud at localhost to set the database user and password to cloud, and this command to specify the root user and password for MySQL server, and this command is to specify the IP address of the management server, and it's very important. Alright, next, NFS and system VM template setup. So first of all, CloudStack requires a network file system for its primary and secondary storage, and in the single node setup, the host itself will act as the NFS server. First of all, we need to install the NFS server using this command, and then we create storage directories. We need to create directories for primary and secondary storage using this command, and configure the NFS export. We need to edit this path file to share these directories via NFS, and then we need to add the following line to the file and apply the new export rules. And then we need to download system VM template. This command download the default system VM template, which is included virtual routers, console, proxies, and etc., and install it into the secondary storage directory. The command specifies the secondary storage mount point or SSM, and the template URL or here, and then specifies any hypervisor type here, and overrides any SSM template here. Alright, for the next part is install KVM host configurations. Now we need to configure the same machine to act as a KVM hypervisor that the CloudStack management server will manage. First of all, we need to install KVM and CloudStack engine with this command, and then we need to configure the lib vert. This is modify the library configuration to allow unsecure TCP connections which CloudStack use for management, and we need to edit first for the libvirt configurations. It's for enable VNC listening on all interfaces. This is a command, and then we need to edit the libvirt configuration again, and then we need to follow these lines and presence and uncomment it. Nah, here, this is the file we need to uncomment in the configuration file, and then we need to ensure the deliver statement start with the listen flag, and finally start the deliver service to apply all changes. Next, disable app armor. App armor can sometimes interface with lever permissions, and to avoid this issue, we need the guide instruction to disable the default lever profiles by creating a symbolic links in the etc app armor disables, and then using app armor parser R to remove the profile from the kernel. Next, finalize and launch Constack. So with all the components configured, now we can set up and start the management server. First, to set up and start management server, we need to run the final setup script here. This will configure the web server and start the Constack management service. And after the script is finished, we can check the status to ensure it take a few minutes for the web UI to become fully available. This is the command, and then we access the Constack dashboard. So open a web browser and navigate to this IP address in the web browser, and the default logins, it's username, admin, password, and you will be prompted to change the password when you first login.
Good evening, Mr. Professor Yan. I will be explaining CloudStack UI configurations until the step of forwarding ports. The final step to configure a CloudStack environment is through the UI by creating zones, pods, clusters, and adding the host and storage. So first, we will be presented with a wizard that is designed to ensure that we create all the necessary components of a basic cloud in the proper order. As you can see here, the wizard has their specific steps, every specific step that we need to go through before fully launching the CloudStack. The wizard forces us to create a zone type first, and then the core zone type, and then the zone details, networks, and add resources, and then finally launch the CloudStack as a whole. A zone is defined as the highest level organizational unit within a CloudStack deployment. Architecturally, a zone corresponds to a single physical data center. It represents the distinct geographical location of the zone, which contains the collection of pods, clusters, hosts, and primary as well as secondary storage resources. A zone is considered a boundary for certain services and resources, such as secondary storage, and acts as availability of guest VM templates and ISOs. CloudStack offers two distinct types of zones, each with a different networking model. In this case, we have advanced and core. The choice of zone type is fundamental as it will dictate how the capabilities of the network as well as the topology of the cloud environment. A core zone is considered standard, a full-feature data center deployed within the CloudStack model. It is designed to be a primary self-sufficient data center that provides the complete range of CloudStack's networking and infrastructure services, which is also intended to host the full cloud environment, as well as management plane within the first core zone, and also secondary storages, VMs, as well as guest instances. And then there's also an edge zone. The edge zone is specialized in lightweight deployment models designed for edge computing scenarios. The primary goal of an edge zone is to extend more computing capabilities to remote geographical locations closer to end users in order to reduce latency. So imagine it as like the zone becoming closer to wherever the user wants the VM to be. They are made to be limited in functionality, and it's only focused to provide computing resources and relies on the central core zone for management, as well as orchestration and templates or ISOs. In this case, we named ours Group 7 Zone. And then we will then be forced to input a readable, human readable name for the data center. Naming conventions are also very important for organization, especially in larger deployments with multiple zones. In this case, a Group 7 zone is what we and then and so on and so forth. And then we will then have to decide what IP we give our zone. This is the public DNS resolver that will provide the VMs, that will be provided to the VMs when they access our cloud stack. When a VM needs to look up an internet address like google.com, it will use this server. For example, 8888 is Google's public DNS. And then you'd have internal DNS, which is the DNS resolver from CloudStack, from CloudStack's VMs. And these VMs are these system VMs need to resolve internal addresses as well as potentially public ones. Often this is set to your local network's gateway or a dedicated internal DNS server within your computer. And then we have a KVM or hypervisor. This specifies the underlying virtualization technology that the hosts in the zone will use. KVM, kernel-based virtual machine, is a popular open source hypervisor for Linux. All hosts within a single cluster must use the same hypervisor, which in this case is the KVM, which was what we used. The public traffic, which is defined by the public ID IP address range for the zone. These are IPs that will be assigned to the VMs to make them accessible from the internet or the wider or any wider corporate network. The gateway is 192.168.1.1, and then that mask is, as you can read, 255 three times with a 0 at the end. These are fundamental network settings for the public IP range. The gateway is a router that connects this network to the outside world. The net mask defines the size of the network segment. And then we have the start IP and the end IP. It's the specific pool of public IP addresses that will be handed over to CloudStack to manage. And CloudStack will automatically assign IPs from this range to VMs when requested. And this specifically cannot be used by any other device within the physical network, or it will cause an error. And then we will move on to the explanation of what a pod is. A pod is a logical grouping of resources within a zone, typically representing a single row of racks. Resources within the pod are also are on the same private subnet. Within our group, we named our pod Group 7 Pod. We have to make sure that it is human readable, and it also follows naming conventions. We also have reserved system gateways, the mask or IP range, which configures a private IP network exclusive for the CloudStack systems VM. CloudStack uses its own lightweight VMs to provide services, which is the most important is the virtual router, which handles networking, DHCP, DNS firewalls, NATs for guest VMs. And others include console proxy VM for web console access and the secondary storage VM. And we have a set range of IP addresses for critical system components to communicate with each other and to manage the server and make sure that their traffic is separate from guest VM traffic. And we also have guest traffic. Guest traffic itself is the network for the actual users for the VMs to use. And we also have cluster. A cluster is a group of one or more homogeneous hypervisor hosts. They are typically connected through the same high-speed switch that share the same primary storage. Our cluster name is Group 7 Cluster, and grouping hosts into a cluster enables advanced features like high availability for VMs. If one host fails, CloudStack can automatically restart its VMs on another host within the same cluster. And then we have hosts. This is where we add actual physical computer servers to the cluster. The host name is given an IP address to run the KVM hypervisor. CloudStack will also use the address to communicate with and manage the host. And then we have a username and a password, which will be sent to CloudStack and will be used to SSH into the host. Then there's also a primary storage that we have to determine first. And this in this situation, our group used the name Group 7 Primary, and we used a protocol NFS, which specifies the type of storage. NFS is a common choice when we have a directory from a server over the network, and which CloudStack will tell all of its hosts in the cluster to mount to this shared directory. And then there's also the server IP address that we've set up as 192.168.1.107. The host itself will act as the storage for the server. And the path, which is the specific directory path, which is being shared for this purpose. This is where CloudStack will create VDI or virtual disk images for the VMs. And then we have a secondary storage, which acts as a zone. It is used to store templates, ISO images, and disk snapshots, and it does not require the same high performance of as the primary storage. But we chose the same provider, NFS, and we chose different IP address, of course, so that there is no confusion between the secondary and primary storage. Well, hence why we chose a different path. And then we have launch zone, which is the process of CloudStack launching your CloudStack. And now we are moving on to the next step within CloudStack, how to make a CloudStack. We create a compute offering, and where we navigate to the service offerings within the left-hand navigation menu, and then ensure that computer offerings the computer offering tab is selected, and then we add compute offering button, and then we add a few parameters, which is name, description, and then storage type. Name is like every other name, it has to be unique. And then the description of what this name represents, and then the storage type, which is shared and local. For each VM, they will get both. There's also a CPU number that we have to specify. And then the CPU speed, the guaranteed clock speed for each virtual CPU core, and then the memory, the amount of RAM that is within this instance. And then if we are offering high availability or not within the system, and then the storage tags, which will allow binding and offering to a specific primary storage pool identified by the tag. And then we will then register an ISO. We will first navigate to the images section in the left-hand navigation menu, and then select the ISOs tab, which is this, and then register ISO button. To complete the registration form, we need a name, description, URL, and then zone, bootable, and then OS type. And then we will then start creating we are moving on to creating an instance. The first step is to navigate the instances section in the left-hand navigation menu. We will then add instance button, which will launch the multi-step wizard, which you see here. And then we define instance ownership for the domain, and then for the account, we select the domain that the owner account belongs to from the drop-down list, and then choose the specific user account that will own this instance specifically. And then we choose the deployment infrastructure and the zone field. Select the data center zone where you want your instance to be deployed. Optionally, you could also specify a pod, cluster, or even a specific host for the deployment. If you only select the zone, the CloudStack will automatically place the instance on the most suitable hardware to balance resources. And then we choose a template or ISO, which we would click the template ISO, like here. We choose one of the templates for the ISOs, and then after that we would just scroll down, and then we choose a hypervisor afterwards. And then we choose a computing offering, which here in this case we created a 4 CPU times 1.60 gigahertz for the clock, and then the memory is 8,192 megabytes. And then we configure the networks. Once checking the box, the next one, check the box next to one or more networks from the list to attach them to your instance. Within this example, we chose Group 7 network. And then we launch the instance. And then we're moving on to the next step, which is egress rules, or allowing your VM to access the internet. This is pretty much just adding our IP address to make sure that they are able to access the internet, which in this case we did succeed. Due to unforeseen circumstances, I had to cut the recording, and I will now continue with the explanation, where we are now on the step of accessing the SSH through VM. to connect the VM of your computer to an SSH client, we need to configure the incoming traffic rules. This is the two-step process for that, which is to navigate to the same menu as this, and then we'll add a new IP address, and then we would then add a we would make sure that we give this on the CIDR. This will allow us to connect to the internet, and we will add TCP as a protocol, and then we will add the end port and the start port. This will ensure that this port specifically, we are accessing this port specifically. For standard SSH, this is port 22, but we can also use any different port if you'd like. In this screenshot, we use the 2300. This is incorrect. And then we would click add. And then we would then add port forwarding, which is to add the firewall rule to the which opens the door on your public IP, but it still doesn't know which specific VM it's sending traffic to. Now, with port forwarding, which we create that connection to make sure that the VM knows where it's sending their traffic to. In port forwarding, we would add a private port, the public port, the protocol, and make sure that the state is active. And then we would add the instance, which VM is going through the firewall. And this is the proper. This just shows that we have succeeded in applying the cloud stack. And that is it for our documentation and how to install CloudStack properly, up until making sure that the VM has a firewall that goes through it to ensure that it is safe. That is all from me. I have been Michael Winsenchaya. Thank you so much, Professor Yan, for paying attention to this presentation. The next part will be explained by my friend Lewis. Thank you.
After configuring the firewall and port forwarding, we can access the VM by using SSH. So this is the source NAT IP address, and this is the public port. You can see we successfully access the VM by using SSH. Okay, thank you for watching this CloudStack installation and configuration video. We can access the CloudStack dashboard using the server's IP address. To log in, you can use the username admin and the password. So this is the CloudStack dashboard that has been configured. For configuring the CloudStack environment to create a zone, pod, cluster, and adding the host and storage, you can refer to the GitHub page. Now I will be showing you how to create a compute offering. First, navigate to Service Offerings, Compute Offerings, and then click this button. Then we can add a new compute offering by first giving a name for this new compute offering, such as then we can give the description. Then we can give the number of CPU cores, clock speed, and the total memory. Then you can choose the zone and click OK. Next, I will showing you how to register an ISO. First, navigate to image, then ISO, then click this button. First, you need to specify the URL. For example, this is the URL for Ubuntu server. Then you can give the name and the description. Then you can choose the zone. Make sure that bootable is checked, and then the OS type. And then click OK. So you can see that there's already a few ISO that I already have downloaded. After downloading an ISO, we can continue to creating an instance. First, navigate to compute and then instance, and then you can click this button. Make sure to select the pod, cluster, and then the host. Then we can choose the ISO that we already have downloaded. For example, Ubuntu server, and then choose the compute offering that we have created, and then choose the disk size, and then the network. Then you can click launch instance. So this is an example of instance that I already have created. You can run the instance by click the run button here, and then view the instance by this button. Next, to access the internet, we need to configure the egress rules. To do that, first we navigate to network, and then guest network, and then egress rules. From here, we can add the source CIDR. For example, this is the source CIDR that I use, and then the destination, and then top protocol, then you can click add. Next, we can allow SSH access to the VM by configuring the firewall and port forwarding. To do that, you can navigate to public IP addresses, the source net, and the firewall. You can add the source CIDR, the protocol, and the port. And then for port forwarding, you can add the private port, and then the public port. As you can see, I already add the port forwarding and the firewall. As you can see, the PM now can access the internet. Welcome to this video presentation on installation and configuration. This demonstration will focus on an already established concept environment. Rather than performing a flash installation, this video will guide you through the key phases of installation and the subsequent configuration steps as applied in a pre-existing setup. Okay, first we'll need to configure the server network to use the static IP address on a bridge interface. So this is the network configuration that we will be using. You can adjust the network interface, IP address, and the network gateway. So that we can continue to management server installation. First, we need to add the classic repository to a new repository file. Make sure to add the official Prospect repository for Ubuntu to this file. Next, we can download and add the trusted public key to the system's password key by using this command. Next, you can update the local package cache and install the Prospect management and the MySQL server packages. Okay, after installing, we can configure the MySQL configuration file to include the settings that is required by Prospect. Make sure to add these following lines under the MySQLD section. You can restart and check the status of the MySQL database. You can see MySQL is active and running. Next, we can set up the Prospect database using the script that is provided by CloudStack. You can adjust the database user and password, the root user and password, and the IP address. Okay, next we can continue to NFS and system VM template setup. First, we can install the necessary NFS package. After installing, we need to create two new directory that will be used for primary and secondary storage. We can name them primary and secondary. Then we can configure the export file to share these directories via NFS. Make sure to add this following line so that the export directory and the subdirectory is accessible to any client with read and write permission. For that, we can apply the new export rules. Next, we can continue to download the system file template using this command. Okay, after management server installation, we continue to KVM host configuration. First, we need to install the KVM and CloudStack agent. For that, we need to configure the libvirt configuration to allow unsecured TCP connection. Well, we can do that by using this command. Next, we can edit the libvirtconf file. Make sure to the following lines unpleasant and uncommented. To that, we can modify the libvirt file and make sure this is enabled. Then we can restart the libvirt to apply the changes that has been made. Okay, for that, we can disable app arbor that sometimes interfere with libvirt permission. So this is the command. After that, we can run the final setup script. We can also check the status of the management server. Jadi the CloudStack management server is active and running.